Well, hello there, folks. How you doing? Happy Friday or whatever day you're watching this on, if you're catching it on the replay. My name, in case you don't know already, I know some people don't like to reintroduce themselves, but my name is Jeremy Hubbell. I am a moderator here for the Ecamm folks, and I am here today to take you through this wonderful product called Ecamm. So if you're new, welcome. If you're a vet, welcome as well. And do me a huge favor, do Mr. Moderator a huge favor. Hey, Paul, go ahead and check in the chat. I'm looking at it right now. And also, Paul, you should probably have that poll going. I want to see who's new, who is been using it for a while, and I'll kind of tailor things based on that. We're always going to start with the basics first, just to kind of reset everybody, and then we'll go on from there. I'll play along. This is really just an Ecamm demonstration, learning Ecamm. Hardware-specific issues we may be able to touch on in a very little bit, but those are normally reserved for the Tech Talks with Doc. Tech Talks. See, something's in the brain there. So the Tech Talks that happen with Doc Rock, that's when we get down and dirty with the gear. So let's see who we got here so far. Got Candace. How's it going? Jaden. Hey, it's my partner in bacon. Valerie's here. And of course, Mr. Moderator as well. So again, do me a favor and check in if you would. And I will also bring up the stream on my pooter here. I'll talk about what I'm running on in a second. Just so I can see the poll as well. And let's go. Ecamm. That's interesting. Ecamm doesn't want to show up for me. Why is it not showing up? Huh? It says it's live. Well, that's weird. There it is. Ecamm live. There I am. Okay. Perfect. Make sure that's muted. There we go. All right, here we are. Who else we got in the chat? Trudy, how's it going? All right, so let's get rolling. Like I said, I am running here. Let me switch over to my other view real quick here. This is kind of my behind the scenes view. I am running my Mac Mini is down there somewhere. I don't know where exactly. It's I can see it. It's right there. So I'm running a M2 Mac Mini right now. And that is going into all the stuff you see here. So I've got 3 Thunderbolt monitors. I've got my teleprompter, aka confidence monitor. I've got a Rodecaster down here. I've also got my iPad. This is for controlling my lights. And then down here, you can't see it, but I've got a Stream Deck as well. So I will say this, first and foremost, you don't need all of this stuff to get going. I have what is a common affliction for a lot of Ecamm users. It's called GAS, Gear Acquisition Syndrome. And I am definitely guilty of purchasing way more than I needed to. So just, you know, get yourself situated. If you're just getting rolling, get yourself situated with some stuff that you already have. Maybe get a couple of things here and there, but you don't need to go all out when you're first getting going. Of course, if you got the budget, go for it. So my wife would tell me we didn't have the budget, but here we are. So I am in my studio here in Seattle, Washington. And this is a studio which used to be my kids' room. And so for some of you who are getting started with Ecamm, you may find yourself in a similar situation. You're just using a room in the house, and you're trying to get rolling. And so how do you get things going? Well, first, obviously, you're going to need a product like Ecamm to get going. And the lighting and the cameras and all that other stuff, those are things that can come later. But you can run with your iPhone, or you can run with a small camera to get rolling, and then start upgrading as you need to. Okay, there you go. Gear acquisition. So Mr. Moderator's on top of it. If you find your head, if you hide your credit card or just max it out, then you can't use it. You'll be fine. So All right. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and get in Ecamm. So I'm gonna switch back and forth between what's called live demo mode and also um, the mode you see right now, which is basically just me on screen. You can see behind me, that's my backdrop. That's about, oh, I don't know, about 5-6 feet behind me. And so it's got a nice little blurry background because I'm running on a Sony mirrorless camera right now. It's called an FX30. And I've got some lighting set up in here, just a little bit, like 15 lights, no big deal. But this gives me the look that I want. And so once you establish that, I mean, as a lot of people will tell you, as Doc will certainly tell you, and other people as well in the community, it's not really about the look. I mean, the look is great, but ultimately it's about the content you're presenting. And so speaking of which, 6.5 minutes into this, let's go ahead and talk about what we're here for, and that is learning Ecamm. So we're going to start with a new scene. So first things first, I'm going to create a new scene. I'll get into live demo mode in just a second here. So hang on one second. What did I do? Where am I? Echo. Oh, I found it. There I am. Okay, sorry. Had to do that. So we had a little fun with some sound effects. When we're creating a new scene, let me go into live demo mode here and I'll show you what I just did. And actually, I got the button for it right here. There we go. Live demo mode. So you can see my screen here. I've got all the windows open. When you're first starting Ecamm, you don't need to have all this stuff here. These little panels that are all over the place are designed for, you know, what the kind of tasks that you're going after. I keep these all up because I have the screen real estate, but if you don't, that's fine. You don't have to. You can close windows as you need it. For instance, I don't need to have interview mode on because I'm not doing an interview. I'm not doing Zoom, so I can hide that window. Sound effects, I just use those. So I'm done with those now. And so there we go. We're basically, you know, we have exactly what we need. I got my level meters for my audio. I've got my cameras on the right-hand side here. It's all here in front of me. And let me see, I will take a look at the results here. Okay, so we got good mixture so far. Keep those votes coming in. So we'll make some small adjustments here and there. And so what did I do? So here you see I created a new scene. And that new scene is what basically in my scenes panel here. Think of scenes as it's a container for all the stuff you want people to see. It's like a slide inside Keynote or PowerPoint. Some people call it like it's like a room in the house, and then inside that room you populate it with furniture, and that's your overlays, which is the next thing I'm going to talk about. But you know, sometimes people who are familiar with, you know, slideshows and things like that, it's a slide. It's what people see on the screen. And then you add stuff to it inside your overlays panel, which is right here. Let me go ahead and turn on my little cursor. I don't know if this is going to show, but if it does, let's see. Yep, it does work. Okay, perfect. So now I can do this. I can zoom in here and you can see everything that's here. This is a product called, what is this, Cursor Pro. So if you're training people how to use software, this is a great way to do it because you can hold down a modifier key and then just zoom in on an area that you're talking about. Anywho, so we're in new scene. So what happened was inside when I create a new scene, my source was set to blank. And that's why I had a black image, no image. It was just a clear canvas, so to speak. And then I added a camera overlay, and this is my main camera, camera A, which is inside here. Now you can see with this camera, and get rid of this. I'm not sure what that's about, but you can see this is my camera, and I can position this wherever I want. I don't need to have it full screen. I can move it around. This is just click drag operations, nothing fancy about it, but this is considered an overlay. So you can have other stuff on the screen. So let's say you wanted to have some bullet points down the side, you could do that. If you wanted to have the bullet points on top of the camera overlay, I'll show you how to do that as well. Very easy to set up. This is the thing I love about Ecamm. You can mess around to your heart's content. Really, it comes down to what it is your vision is for your presentation, for your live video, whatever you're doing. You can define what that look is going to be. You don't have to follow any specific rules other than, delivering the content that you want. So you can really just kind of pick apart, what kind of style I want, what kind of things that I want on the screen, what kind of things don't I want seen, all that stuff. So I can just use the scroll wheel on my mouse to size this up. Of course, you can click drag. And if you hold down the Option key, you can actually even crop it too. So if I hold down Option, I can crop this into a square. And what's really cool about this is that if I wanted to, I could go into the little edit button here and then just plug in a corner radius. So if I want to round this out, or if I wanted to put a border on it, I could do that. Pick the color of my border. Of course, my color palette went way over to the third monitor. There we go. And I could pick a color for that border and then just drag up that size like so. And you see now you've got a stylized camera view that you can place anywhere you want. And this is also just a rectangular shape. If I wanted to make it a circle, I could do that. I have to reset my crop here. Otherwise there we go. So I can, put a circle in here. I can put whatever I want. And then you can just place it wherever you need it on the screen. It's great. It's very, very straightforward. So, and let's say I wanted to, go back to just like a default camera view. I could do that. I could drag from my panel window, and it's going to take the existing shape that I have. That's what Ecamm is all about. So if I took one of my other cameras, like the one we were just looking at, dropped it in here, you can see that that also takes on the shape of what I've defined here. So it's really quick for laying stuff out. It's great for that. It makes it really simple to just kind of quick, not even copy paste. It's just drag and drop, drag and drop, drag and drop, right? And we'll go ahead and we'll get rid of that guy. And I'm going to reset this because I do not do that style. That is not me. I mean, it's me, but it's not me. You know what I'm saying? So I'll go back to wide and set my border. I don't want any border and I don't need rounded. There's some other options inside these windows here. For instance, I've got opacity. So if I wanted to make the windows slightly transparent, I could. I can rotate this. Nope, wrong way, Jeremy. So I always get that wrong. How many of you also get that wrong? You go the wrong direction. Anyway, so I can do that. Perspective is kind of cool because this allows you to give it kind of a 3D look. I had a show set up one time where I had my guest coming in on one camera and the other one, and I was in like this, and we were kind of looked like they were angled. So we were looking at each other, but we weren't. It was really kind of awkward. I ended up not going with it, but it looked cool. The idea was cool, at least. Hey, how's it going? Got more people checking in. We got different blend modes. This is kind of cool. So the blend modes are, let me show you how these work. I mean, these are very similar to other like image editing tools. You've got different, these are like filters. If you're used to Instagram or Snapchat filters, you can change the way things are layered on top of each other. Doesn't really help with the camera. I'll do this with the shape that I'll go over in a minute, but we've got different blend modes. The transition determines how this overlay comes into the screen. So for instance, let's say I put this here and I wanted to go to a small, or I wanted to have this thing fly in from the right, you can go in and say fly in from the right. Okay, so now if I don't even need to go out of this scene, I can just turn the object off and then turn it back on. And I fly in from the right. So these are quick little animations. So when you're building your presentation, you can do these, but you got to be careful. just because you have this power doesn't mean you need to use it all for your presentation. It can get distracting after a while. I'm going through it because I'm trying to show you everything, but you got to use these with, you got to be conservative in your use of these special little functions inside Ecamm. And then you have a shadow, which won't do anything against a black background right now. And then these allow you to set the options for the shadow. So let me go ahead and turn on our background here. This is inside our overlays panel. You see here, I've got show in background. And what this does, turning this on, this was just an image that we had dropped in here. This will now show anything that's in the show in background section of your overlays panel will show in every single scene that you set up inside of Ecamm. You can override it by placing something on top of it, but it'll always be there. So even if you create a new scene and you set the source to blank, this image will still show up. It won't be black, just so you know. So I've got this on now. So now we can see the shadows. I drop the shadow here, and you can say I can play around with the angle of the shadow, the distance of the shadow from here, blur it out a little bit. You know, how far do you want to pop it? You know, you can make things look layered if you adjust the distance of the shadow against the backdrop, right? So if you want to make something look like it's behind something else, or it's closer to the background, you can not make the shadow as deep as it is for the furthest object from the panel. And that is kind of the settings for your camera. Now I'll go ahead and put this back to full screen here. And then I'm going to do something that you should always do when you're setting these up, is once you've got your camera ready and in the spot where you want it, go ahead and hit that little lock icon right there. See it pops up when you mouse over. Make sure that's on, because now I can't inadvertently adjust the size, which we've all done unexpectedly sometimes. So just once you've got something in place, lock it down. Super easy to do. Okay, so what about other objects that you can put inside your scene? Right now, we're just dealing with one scene. And you can see I've got several scenes here. Depending upon your presentation, you can have as many scenes as you want. Just keep in mind that when you have more and more scenes inside this profile, and the profile is right here, you can see the profile section allows you to create, it's like a template, so to speak. It's got some settings in there that it includes your scenes, it includes your overlays and things like that, your sounds, but you don't want to have a profile that's too loaded up, because it will occupy a lot of space and a lot of memory on your computer. So the bigger the profile and the more scenes you have, the more memory Ecamm's going to take when it loads up. So it's best to keep it as much as you need and not any more than that. That's just the way it rolls, because it's got to keep that stuff in memory to quickly switch between scenes. So so we got these scenes here. Let me go to our other overlays here. So I've got an image. Now image is just an image, right? So if I went, let me see if I can find something. I was playing around the other day, and let me go look real quick. And look at that. That's not, there we go. Okay, well, all right. So I'm a bit of an aviation nerd. And they were just testing out the new 777 that's it was grounded for a while because they had some problems with the engines potentially falling off. So I was tracking that flight yesterday. So I did a screenshot of it. So I just dragged this from the Finder and dropped it right into the window. And there it is. And it has the same controls as your other. So let's say, for instance, I wanted to focus in on just this area here. I could zoom the image way in and then use the Option key and crop around that area, just like that, and zoom in and then put it right there. So instead of using the whole image, I can have just that there. And then going back to blend modes here, I talked about that before. Notice some things are not present here. Obviously, you're not selecting a camera, so some of the camera functions are not going to be here, but you can put a border in. You can do a corner radius if you want. Drop shadow, of course, but blend mode. So if I don't have any green screens or blue screens set up right now, but if I did, I could use those. I could select these and use a blue screen, a green screen here. I can darken just like this. You can see there's darken, here's multiply, right? And I don't know about you guys, but I know for me, I just kind of go through these until I find the one that I like, because I never know what they're going to do. I mean, I know there's math behind it. And I was just texting another Ecamm guy earlier today. We're talking about some stuff, and I confess that in college I failed calculus twice, and so I don't. Me and math, we get along, but I ain't the best with it. So you can see that these all have mathematical formulas behind them, and so they give them numbers, and this is how it shows up. But you can see there's lots of cool things you can do with this. Right, you can pick the luminosity, that kind of stuff. And it also does have things like perspective. You could do that, and you could rotate it. Let's go back to the regular. That's fine, like that. So it's neat. I mean, this is something that came along not too long ago, is this replace asset button. And let me get that out of the way. The replace asset button here allows you to swap out this image for something else. So let's say you had another image that you wanted to use, or you wanted to update this image with the new version of it. You just click on replace asset, the Finder will come up, and you just pick a new asset, which is basically an image in this case. So like that. Let me get rid of this real quick, and I'm going to show you something else with the camera. Okay, so here's an issue that I'm having with the framing of my camera. I'm playing around with the distance of the camera from my face, and I either have a 23 millimeter lens or a 30 millimeter. I don't have a zoom lens. I've got all primes on for this camera. So how do I don't like these two lights on the side here. These guys out here, I don't like these being in the shot. So going into the camera effects panel here, I can turn on zoom and pan, and now I can zoom in this image digitally and get rid of those. And then I can pan around. So let's say I wanted it to be more like this. Now I can adjust it. And then now, if we go back to this scene, you can see how it occupies. Let me get out of live demo mode. You can see how this occupies the entire screen, and those lights are gone. They're doing their job, which is illuminating the space, but they're not inside the view. So oh, Mr. Paul just left us. Okay, so he just let me know. He just lost his network. Apparently somebody's digging close to his house or something. So Val, you are in charge until Mr. Moderator comes by. Oh, wait, okay. Okay, he might be back. Okay, well, we'll see. Live happens. See, live happens. All right. Thanks, Val. I appreciate that. The FX30 I love. And one of the tricks that we often do is we put what's called the black mist filter on the lens, and that softens things and gets rid of the digitalness. I don't know if that's the word, but the kind of the harshness of a digital image. So it just ever so slightly, but you can see like the two horizontal lights behind me have a slight glow to them. If I were to take that filter off, they would be just the stark lights themselves. They wouldn't have any glow. So that black mist filter is primo. It's definitely worth getting if you have a mirrorless camera. All right. Or you have a camera that has an interchangeable lens. So zoom and pan in camera effects here. This allows me to set things up. And let me go back into live demo mode. There we is. Uh-oh. Somebody must be digging outside your house, Paul. I think that's what's going on. So there's some other things in here under camera that a lot of people have questions about in the camera effects panel. Camera effects, by the way, is it's got to pay the bill. This, you see this little button right here that shows up in your main screen. If I tap this, it'll come up. This is camera effects. Now this allows you to control your camera's image after the camera has captured it and before it gets sent out to the stream. So why would you use this? Well, let's say your camera isn't tuned right. You don't have your white balance set correctly. Let's say it's a little too dark. Whatever, you can make adjustments here. So for instance, with brightness, I can brighten that image up. If I wanted to make it colder in here, I could do that. I can mess with the tint. So the tint is either magenta or green. That has to do with the lighting. I'm using inside here, I'm using 2 LED lights, a key light and a fill light, and those tend to shift with they either shift towards green or they shift towards magenta during the actual life of the LED. So you can counter that with your tint slider here. And also, you can mess around with it that way, right? So if I wanted to go a little bit like this, I could, right? If I want it to look more like I'm white and pasty from being in the Pacific Northwest for the past 4 or 5 months, I could shift it a little bit towards magenta and give myself some color again. You've got saturation, and then gamma. Gamma is kind of like it's setting your black point, really. This is, you can see I can mess with this to get things darker. And this is adjusting, almost like adjusting the f-stop on your camera, how much light you're letting in. Not quite exactly. This is more mathematical, but at the same time, it allows you to kind of darken things up or lighten things. Just keep in mind, either with brightness or gamma, you can wash out the image very quickly. So I tend not to mess with these too much. I do it all in camera, and I only use this if I'm not in front of the camera and I can't make adjustments to the camera in real time. For instance, I do live streaming services for a church that's 60 miles away from my house. I don't go there every weekend. I do it all from inside here. But if I notice the white balance is off or the saturation's off or somebody did something to the camera, I can make adjustments here inside of Ecamm while I'm doing the live stream, and I can adjust it in real time, and it's great for that. You can also use what's called a LUT or lookup table. This allows you to add some, again, this is going back to like Instagram filters, things like that. You can adjust the tone of your image. I tend not to touch these just because I can do this in camera. My camera allows me to load LUTs into it. But if you don't have that capability, you can you could load in LUT, and you can find LUTs all over the place. Just do a search on that on Google, and you can add all kinds of, like, you can make it nice and cool. You can do like a vintage style, all that stuff. I can mirror the camera. I can, if I wanted to go old school, I could do this, sepia, and then blur. And the blur is, it blurs the entire image. Do not adjust your TV set. De-interlace, you will almost never have to worry about. That's kind of reserved for older technology where every other line was updated by the camera. Nowadays, they're progressive and they just go straight down. So you don't really have to mess around with de-interlace. Rotate, you're like, well, I already had a rotate. Well, this one is nice because, for instance, going back to the church example that I was talking about, if the camera is mounted upside down, you can rotate the image, right? And I can do it right here inside of Ecamm. So even though the camera's image is coming to me upside down, I can rotate it right here and then just make that adjustment. And then you've got a few other buttons here. We don't need to go through all the details here. The only other thing is the blue screen, green screen. You can make adjustments here. If you had a green screen, I have a tutorial on my website that shows you how to use a green screen. And what's really cool about the one that I did is that I used Ecamm's feature that allows you under the recording menu, you see there's a save photo here. So you can actually take a snapshot of your background. So you get out of the picture, right? You take a snap, you get everything out of the picture, right? So it's just the background. Take a picture, then throw that picture onto a green screen using this green screen function in Ecamm. You don't have to light up your studio. You just have to have lights on you and make sure that the green screen's lit. And then you can, if you wanted to have a different look every day, you could do that. Or when people start using green screens for blur effects and things like that, I'm not a fan of that. But I do think that if you have access to good lighting and a green screen, definitely go for it, because there's some really cool effects you can do with that. And if you're doing the weather, it's almost a given. All right. Okay, so we're out of our camera effects panel now. I'll go back into overlays here. You can see some of the other things here. I can add a video. So for instance, at the beginning of the stream, I played this. Well, it wasn't that small, but I played this. This is a video file, right? You can see it playing right there. So I just added it using this feature here. So the sound is embedded in the video file. And the way that you get the sound embedded in the video file is you save it as a WebM. And I think, Mr. Moderator, you can correct me on this, but I think there's a few apps that do this, and maybe you know which ones they are if you've got links. But if you want, you can't use a QuickTime, like a regular QuickTime video with Ecamm and get the sound. You can get the video, but you can't get the sound unless you're saving it as a WebM, just so you know that. You can do screen sharing. So for instance, if I wanted to share my screen, this is going to look weird, but I can do that. So this is, let me go to, no, that's not what we want. That's the wrong one. Okay. Oh, that's why. Get rid of that. Go away. There we go. And we'll go to which second. How many of you have this many displays hooked? There. Nope, not that one. Tertiary? Nope, not that one. Quaternary? I don't know. It's got to be this one. Yeah, it's this one. Okay. So I can select a display, or I can select an app. So for instance, I've got Chrome running right now. I can select Chrome. You can see now it focuses on Chrome. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Now I'm looking at the stream of what I'm streaming, so don't get too confused here. But notice it's got the rounded corners and things like that. I can make adjustments to all this stuff. If I go into screen share here, and if I want to get rid of my corner radius, I can do that. You have blend modes, you have transitions. If you want to have this pop up, you can certainly do that. You can also crop it. So if I don't want to see certain things, just use the Option key again. I figure we're not breaking any copyright issues streaming our own stream again, but you see here. So now you just have to be really careful about hijacking other people's streams. Ask me how I know. But you see, you can post that. So now I'm actually sharing my Chrome window right next to me here, and this is me and me. So there you go. Thanks, Shutter Encoder. That's the one we want. Thanks, Paul. Text. Okay, so I was talking about bullet points, text, that kind of stuff. You can add a text object. And again, this shows up here on my screen. So let's do that. Now, this is a font that I have installed. You probably don't have this one. So we'll go to, everybody loves marker felt, right? So I can do 0.1, oops, 0.1. And you can use things like emojis and stuff like that, right? Now, this is all going to come in as one object, right? And obviously that I'm not a big fan of that color. So then I will go in and select all this, and I don't know, let's see, let's just make it white. Close enough. All right. There we go. Save that. And then we can give this some, of course, you can do the whole drop shadow. You can rotate this. You can have this also fly in. So I can say fly in from the right. So when you're trying to make a point, like the other day I was on a call and I wanted to let the people know what the next steps were in the project that I'm working on with them. So I'm talking to them like this, and it's just me. And then it's like, okay, let's talk about last steps. And then I just bring these on, and then they're right there next to me. You can have these appear like this. If you wanted them animated, I would recommend using something like Keynote, which you can share Keynote screen in here to have them go point by point if you wanted to do that. And Keynote's an app that comes with your Mac anyway, so it's worth it to use the Keynote app for doing those kinds of things. So that's text. Text can be, you can do all kinds of other stuff with text. There's some things you can do here. You can do cutout text, right? And let's see. I don't know if I can do that here. No. This will actually allow you to cut out the shape of the text against a background. You've got your opacity settings, all the other stuff, blend modes. Fun stuff. And then let's say I wanted to put a backdrop behind here because the text is still not sticking out good enough. I could go in, there's a shape option here. I click on new shape, and you can see that is using obviously a filter here. This is 1980s Take On Me. Well, who sang that? Aha, I believe, right? You do that, right? We don't want that. We don't want this mode. This is not going to be a comic effect. This is going to be just a color, or we'll do a gradient. How about that? We'll do a gradient. So we can pick two different colors here, and we can go with that, and then here, that, like that. And it's like, oh, well, that's behind, or it's on top of my text, and it's not the right shape. So of course the shape setting is easy, but how do you get this now behind your text, but still ahead of view? Well, inside the overlay panel, these are like layers in, photo editing software. So you can just take that rectangle. Ecamm will automatically put the things at the top of the list. So you need to rearrange them. So then you can just drag it right below. So click, drag, and now it's behind the points, but it's on top of me, because if I drag it below me or below the camera, it goes away, and that's no bueno. So we're going to do that. And something like that. Now, these are two separate objects right now. Ecamm has a great organization system that allows you to kind of compartmentalize everything into, it's like groups. So what you do is you create a folder inside of your overlay panel here. You also have folders inside your scenes, but you can go to a folder here for your, it's called a group, right? And I'm going to call this text overlay. And then I'm going to drag text overlay and the rectangle into this folder. And now it's, if I collapse the folder, they're inside there. Now, what's nice about that is that you see there's a little link button here. If I link everything in that group, and now if I just click on one of the objects, it'll move the entire group. So that's really useful for moving a bunch of different things at once. But it also allows you to just turn off the entire group too. So if you want it to all appear at once, this is how you would do it. And then you can see here, it still retains the animation. So let's say I wanted that rectangle to do the same behavior as the text. Just go over to it, set the transition from none to whatever I want. So let's say I wanted to have it meet the text, but I'm going to fly in from the top, right? So now if I turn off that folder and then turn it back on, there you go. So there's all kinds of little fun effects you can do with that stuff. And this is essentially overlays. There's another one that that I haven't, well, there's two other ones that I haven't really discussed here. And one is the countdown timer. It's a countdown timer. It's text, it counts down, and then at the end of that countdown, you can have Ecamm do something. So go to the next scene, and you know, you can have it, well, here, I'll just create one. You can see here, go to, see it starts counting down, go to next scene when finished. You can set the duration, auto start. So if you are doing a countdown timer for Ecamm, for your show, this is how I would do it, because it's easy. You just plug it in and go. But you don't, we're getting away. You may have noticed that I just started today. There was no countdown timer. There's no music or anything like that. We just started. There's a lot of reasons. The thinking is nowadays is that it used to be where you were trying to get everybody, you were kind of like putting everybody in a green room, right? And everybody's just waiting for the show to start. And you're warming up the audience, you got the music playing, and maybe you got like a semi-transparent version of you on the screen and you're dancing in the background. What happens is when that gets stored onto YouTube, and I'm making the assumption a lot of you will be going to YouTube or even on Zoom, you would have that whole intro in the live, right? In the live would be in the recorded version too. And I got so many comments. I just sat through 1.5 minutes of a countdown. Why? It's not live. And it's like, okay, well, before you used to, if you edited the video on YouTube, it destroyed the comments, and I didn't want that. But, oh, thanks to Miss Valerie, who's here in the chat. Apparently that is now a thing. You can now edit those videos down, so you can just scrape off that countdown. So if you still like your countdown, you can do it, and you can edit it later on, right? So you can cut that down to a, you know, like a, just get rid of your intro and just go right into the content once the video's done. You can do that. We're going to do something when we go out, and I actually like what we're going to do when we wrap up the demo, and that is I'll put a static screen up with some music, and then you guys can just hit the comments field, and I can post them up there so everybody can say bye to each other and everything like that. So it's that, I like that part, because then that's, you know, it's, instead of just chopping it off and it's like, see you later, bye, and it's over, you can have it kind of wind down, right? So it depends on you, it depends on your style. I just get to it nowadays, and I actually like that. And if I need to psych myself up before the video starts, I'll play music inside here by myself, and I just got to make sure to turn it off before I go live. Otherwise, you get blasted. So, by the way, if you guys have any, okay, so there is a question here. Let's see here. I'm gonna do a search. Oh, well, it's right here. Hands-free options to highlight comments. So hands-free, you can use the Elgato Stream Deck pedals, which I have down here. Clearly, I can't get to them at the moment, or yeah, I can't get to them at the moment, but I can use these to step through basically any commands in Ecamm I can issue from these pedals. So if I want to bring up a comment, I can do that. So if you're playing a guitar, for instance, you can be playing, and then if you see a comment come up that you want to highlight, you can just, you know, you can post the latest comment to the screen using that that feature inside the Stream Deck. And it's just, there's 3 pedals on this little assembly here, and this allows me, actually, I can step through. So right now I've got it. I can go here. Whoops, I got to be in the screen. There we go. I can go like that, right? So I can step through my seat like that. So that, and I didn't really set that up for today's show because I'm using my keyboard stuff, but the pedal would work great for something like that. It's hands-free. Also, one of the other great options about using the pedals is you can, if you wanted to do like a thumbnail of yourself, you're in the screen or you're playing or whatever, you've got some content and you want yourself on there. And I've got a tutorial about this, but you can use the screen capture function inside of the recording, the save photo command here. You can assign this to a Stream Deck, either if you have the Stream Deck itself or the pedals, and then you can press the pedal or the button and be completely hands-free because you can integrate timers like a delay timer inside of the Stream Deck. You can be completely hands-free and then take a photo, a snapshot of whatever you want, and then use that as your thumbnail for your YouTube video if you want. Let's see if there's any other questions. Yeah, I don't like cutting people off either, Vince. I feel you on that. Yeah, the pedals are great. The pedals are great. To favorite for later. Well, so there is the star here, right? You can favorite. I don't know if you can, I don't know if that's a command. Maybe if Mr. Moderator or somebody else who's in the know, I don't know if you can favorite a comment with a keyboard alternate. Do not know that. Let me see. Add placeholder. No. No, I don't see a way to do that. Okay, so you have to star the comment manually. Okay. All right. Well, so there you go. But I gave you a star. Does that help at all? Okay, so I'm seeing another question. Okay, so the using Ecamm remotely, Ecamm has a guy on staff. He goes by, his name's Lewis, but he goes by Mr. Camera Junkie, and he's one of their remote production guys. And he handles like the Katie and Doc do a show called The Flow, and he remote produces that show. So he brings them in as guests into his instance of Ecamm, and then he sends out the live. So they're talking, they're not worrying about anything other than being on screen, and he handles all the production in the background. And it works great. If you want to remotely control Ecamm from another location, I use a product called Splashtop Desktop, and that's what I use to get to the church, for instance. So matter of fact, I can show you this because I have that working. Let's see. So if I connect, I'm just going to connect real quick here. And there it is. And you can see there's the desktop of the computer over there. And now, let me get these comments out of the way for the second. You can see now I've got Ecamm running on a computer 60 miles away. And this allows me to, I can control my scenes from here. Weren't supposed to see that. You didn't see that. But I can control my scenes here. I can do everything from here. I actually even have full control over the mixer board, which is sitting right next to the computer in the sanctuary. And so I can remotely produce everything from here, and it works perfectly. You just have to have a stable internet connection. But I tell you what, when it snows up here, and it will, it hasn't yet, but when it does, the people in Seattle can barely drive in the rain. They certainly can't drive in the snow. So I tend to stay off the roads in those cases. But yes, you can do remote production. There's lots of ways to do it. I personally, I like the way I'm doing it, but keep in mind that Splashtop is a different product and it requires a subscription and yada, yada, yada. So you're going to have to figure out what's best for you. Let's see. What other question? I know. Have you tried remote NDI production? Yes. Well, yes and no. I'm using Ecamm's NDI feature on the remote computer. So the computer itself, the location that church location you're looking at, I have IP cameras and I have NDI cameras, and I am controlling both through Ecamm. So I'm pulling in the NDI sources from those cameras and mixing it all together into the audience. They're none the wiser. They have no idea what the source is, but you can pull in both of those. NDI outside of a local network is a gamble at best, and I wouldn't advise it just because NDI is subject to the ebbs and flows of network traffic. If you're on a local network and you've got dedicated subnets for it, NDI is spot on, perfect. But if you start mixing it with other computers and other sources of data usage on your network, it can be problematic and challenging. So that would be my personal recommendation. Let's see what else we got. All right. Well, I think we got a little bit more. Yes, we got more time. So keep those questions coming. If you guys have more questions, hit me. Let me see. What else can we get into? Let's talk about the audio panel. And I think this is a source of consternation for a lot of Ecamm users, and I get it, because audio can be tricky. Unlike video, it's you either see it or you don't, right? But with audio, what happens when you get echo? What happens when you are what's actually in most cases what's called slapback? What's going on there? How are those things happening, and why are they happening? And how do you fix them? Well, every case is going to, not every case, but a lot of cases is going to result in where you have a source of audio that's going through the stream and that it's coming back to that source of audio and going back out, right? So if, for instance, if I had my monitors on in here and I could hear what I'm saying to you right now, it would be playing and you would be hearing me on an echo. And I would be hearing it eventually as well. And that's, obviously that's, that's why I know a lot of people don't like these, but that's why we wear these especially when we're doing like interviews and stuff. Right now, it's just me in the house. So it's totally silent. So I don't need these. I don't need to isolate myself. But if you don't like headphones, cans as we call them, you can get yourself a nice pair of in-ear monitors, and they're not that expensive. And I know somebody's going to ask about AirPods, and I'll chime in on that in a second. But these are, let's see if we get it to focus on me. Come on, Jeremy. Well, here, I'll just take it back. You'll have to take my word for it. You see, this just goes right in my ear. It hooks around my ear, goes in like this, right? And then if I'm in a conversation with somebody, all they see is this, right? Not the big headphones. So if you're not a fan of wearing headphones during a conversation, you can get these. They're on Amazon. Just type in-ear monitor. You'll find them. They're great for doing live productions where you don't want audio going through and getting echoed, because it will happen. The Zoom feature inside of Ecamm does have some noise cancellation features that allow you to isolate some of the sound. So if you do have your speakers on, it will do its best to control that, but it won't always work. And sometimes you'll find yourself, echo, exactly. Yeah. This is a Rodecaster effect. So that's an effect that's on the Rodecaster Pro that I'm using. That's a real-time effect versus something that was pre-recorded or something like that. But slapback can also happen if the audio in your headphones is too loud. And I've heard that as well. It's just faint, just ever so faint, but somebody's got their hearing aids cranked way up, and you can hear the audio through there, and it's just so faint. So you got to watch that. Just be careful about that. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah, IEMs are great. AirPods, not so great. Why? Well, I have a perfect reason for this. Batteries and wireless. Two issues you don't think would be a problem, but any opportunity for something to run out of battery or introduce delay, any kind of latency in your broadcast is going to potentially cause more problems and compound existing issues. So I would wholeheartedly recommend not using AirPods. I was doing an interview with a guy that went way long, and he had his AirPods in. And for the first hour of the interview, it was great. But as we got into the second hour of the interview, his AirPods gave out and he had to take them out. And then because we were using Zoom, we couldn't like talk to each other in real time. I had to wait for him to stop talking before I could start talking because of Zoom's echo cancellation that it's got built into it. So you would hear people stepping, otherwise we'd be stepping on each other. And that, doesn't sound good. It's not good for the audience. So the wireless things, I know a lot of people love them and you don't want to go spend more money. I get it. It's a good Band-Aid solution until you can get yourself some real IEMs or some headphones. But trust me on that. The last thing you want to have happen is those go south on you in the middle of your live or in the middle of your interview. And then you're forced to use something else and you're not set up for that. So IEMs will always work because they're plugged in, they're hardwired. Yes, and that, like you said, AirPods do create a delay. And of course, when you're on the phone with somebody using your AirPods, doesn't really matter, right? So you don't have to worry about that so much. But because people are not looking at your mouth, right? So they don't think about it. You don't think about it because even if there is a little bit of a delay, it's no big deal. But I'll be in the middle of a conversation with somebody and I'll have my AirPods in, and sure enough, they'll start to say something and I'll start to say something at the same time, and we don't hear each other. And then there's silence on the phone, that awkward silence, and all that stuff happens during the middle of a live, and it's just it's not worth it. Not worth it. The IEMs are perfect for that. So don't skimp on those, but you can get them. They're anywhere between $25 and $50. You can go up way high if you get like the expensive professional ones, but you don't have to get those for just doing a live demonstration. All right, I'm seeing some other things come up here. Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah. Paul's got this stuff down. Valerie, how you put up with him, I don't know, but he seems to be a good source of knowledge. It's like he's done this a while. So some of the other issues, a lot of people ask, well, how would I do a microphone? I like the microphones. Do you want the microphone in the shot? Do you not want it in the shot? If I go back to this other view here, you may be able to see it. Let me see here. Good one, Val. Yeah, you can see it. It's right here. This is my shotgun mic. So I have this set up in studio. If I don't want to use let me go back here. Sorry, I'm pressing a bunch of buttons here, and I want to be kind of hands-free. I swear I must have some Italian blood in me. I don't think I do, but I use my hands a lot when I'm talking, and I knock this microphone left and right all the time, and it takes every ounce of my thought process when I'm doing a presentation or when I'm talking to somebody to not hit this microphone. I've already done it once or twice here today. So having the shotgun mic is great because I can be totally hands-free and I can just, so, so there's, you got to be expressive, you know what I'm saying? And people get things, you get their attention and they get things. So, okay, so we're up against the hour here, but if there are any lingering questions, I know I've covered a lot of different stuff and I've kind of dotted all over the interface, but just keep in mind that, play with Ecamm. If you're just getting started with it, just play. You can't break it. You really can't. So, I mean, 9 times out of 10, the issues that you're going to have with Ecamm are generally going to be hardware related. There's something not working right with the hardware. And this is one of the reasons, for instance, why I'm not going to say never, but I would say there's a very strong possibility that it won't happen. And that's Ecamm on iOS devices, because their I/O for hardware is very limited. And you need to have the ability to plug in all these different devices to do the production you want. And you don't want to be restricted to something that says made for iPhone or made for iOS. You want whatever you want, right? So I'm using a Electro Voice microphone. I've got a GatorWorks shock mount. I've got a Elgato Cam Link for capturing my video. I got a Sony camera. Got all these different manufacturers' products. Apple doesn't have to worry about whether or not these products are designed for their devices. They have the drivers and everything just kind of works. It's up to the manufacturer. So that's my personal opinion on that. I feel like as far as getting yourself started and getting going, just take it step by step. And if something doesn't behave the way you want, hey, what's up, DJ? I got your song coming in a second here. You've got all these, you got all these different variables that go into doing a presentation, and it takes skill to deal with complications during your presentation. So minimize that, right? Simplify things down. I just hit the microphone again. Simplify things down, but minimize the amount of potential problem areas that may exist, and then you'll be fine. I mean, and then if you continue to have problems, or, you have slapback issues or things like that, those are usually easily solvable. So, we've got a great forum on Facebook. Myself and Paul and Val and a lot of the other moderators are on Facebook daily. And of course, there's the great Ecamm family. So there's chances are somebody's had the exact same problem you've had. They can help you out. And if that doesn't work, then you've got a great support team at Amesbury at the headquarters. So definitely just simplify. Yes, thanks, Paul, for the link. And keep it simple, but keep the content good. That's what people are here for, right? They want you, but they also want the content. Otherwise, they'll just move on. Doesn't matter how fancy your background is, or how cool your audio equipment is. If you have nothing to tell them, they're gonna go. So, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it. And do we have any more questions? Okay. All right, Michael, you've got the family at they're there for you. So if you haven't downloaded the demo, get it going. And there's actually a link to the software in the bottom or in the description area of this live. So thanks so much for joining me on this lovely day, and stay safe, Valerie, and all you folks down in LA. We're thinking about you, and hopefully things will start making a turn for the better real soon. So all right, I'm gonna play, DJ Rob, I'm gonna play your song, and we'll have a little little outro here, and everybody throw your comments in and I'll put them up on screen. And I will see you all next month when I'm coming to you live from Mardi Gras in New Orleans. All right. Take care. See you, everybody. Bye.
Coming straight out of Ecamm. This is a jam with the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the jam. This is a jam with the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the jam. This is a jam with the Ecamm fam. It's a jam with the Ecamm fam. This is a jam with the Ecamm fam. Ecamm fam is the name of the jam.
Hold it, stop the music.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.